Clayton Echard told Rachel Recchia and Gabby Windey that he was in love with them on Monday's episode of The Bachelor during a rose ceremony from hell. The 28-year-old medical sales rep from Recchia, Missouri, also told Rachel, 25, a flight instructor from Claremont, Florida, and Gabby, an ICU nurse from O'Fallon, Illinois, that he had been intimate with each of them during Fantasy Suites Week. Clayton additionally revealed that he also was in love with Susie Evans, 28, a wedding videographer from Virginia Beach, Virginia, but that she walked off the show due to his relationship with them. Rachel and Gabby both broke down in tears, leaving Clayton standing alone at the podium with the two roses. The 2-hour episode, part 1 of a 2-part season 26 finale, opened with host Jesse Palmer, 43, saying the finale was one of the most controversial ever. "What you are about to see will rock Bachelor Nation and all of America right down to its core," said Jesse. "Nothing, and I mean nothing, can compare to what you are about to witness tonight." Jesse even dubbed the ceremonial flower offering as the rose ceremony from hell. "It's brutal," said Jesse. When the show started, Clayton was still in Iceland, sitting in a church alone, reeling from how Susie walked out on him. "I'm hurt right now, bad," said Clayton in a confessional. "Last night everything blew up and Susie left. And I feel terrible that I was so upset and angry. I'm just so messed up at this point." Clayton said, crying to the camera, "I need somebody to help me because I'm so broken." Later he sat down and spoke to Jesse and said he just didn't know what fully happened last night. "It was crazy," said Jesse. "To completely just be blindsided by last night, with Susie, and to feel that, like, everything that we had meant nothing. It just shattered me and my trust," said Clayton. "She told me multiple times, 'I want you to explore the other relationships fully.'" Clayton said it would have been a big ask for her to tell him to not be intimate with anybody else, but that he would have if he had known how Susie felt. "What made me frustrated was that she told me everything you are saying makes sense, and I completely understand where you are coming from, but with that I still can't see us moving forward from this," Clayton said. Clayton told Jesse he didn't know where to go from here now that Susie was gone. Jesse told him that Gabby and Rachel were going to be expecting roses at the evening's ceremony, wanting to meet his parents and wanting him to get down on a knee in front of them. Clayton said that after everything that just happened he had no trust and that his walls were up. He also questioned whether Gabby and Rachel would be able to move forward if he shared all the information with them. "I'll go tonight and I'll talk with them both, and tell them, this is everything that happened and this is where I am at," said Clayton. "I will be 1000% transparent." Clayton added, "I know that tonight could be the end of this whole thing for me." Jesse asked what if after hearing everything they decided to stick it out. "After hearing all that, I mean, that's obviously a testament to the love that we have," said Clayton. Jesse said it was going to be a big night for him, going into the ceremony telling them and knowing full well that he would also be risking losing them forever. Gabby and Rachel got ready to go to the rose ceremony. Rachel said in a confessional that she worried about being blindsided and that "my biggest fear right now is that he is falling in love with Gabby or Susie." Walking in, Rachel said she knew there was a chance she could be going home, but that Clayton also told her that he was in love with her. "I don't need anything else going forward besides a ring," said Rachel. Jessie saw Rachel and wished her the best. Gabby walked in after her. Jessie asked her how the week in Iceland went for her. "I think it went well," said Gabby. "We were able to express feelings for each other that I hope stay true through the rose ceremony." Jessie asked her how it felt to hear that Clayton was falling in love with her. "It felt good," said Gabby. "I am falling in love with him and he knows." Gabby said in a confessional that the week had been really magical, but she knew that someone was going to get hurt. "I'm hoping he has figured out exactly what he wants and it's me," said Gabby. Gabby and Rachel stood by each other's side waiting for Clayton. They both looked back and wondered where Susie was. "You don't think she went home?" said Rachel, turning to Gabby. "Anything can happen at this point," Gabby said. "Oh my God," Rachel said. Clayton walked in and said he was really in a bad spot. "I love both of these women and tonight I owe it to them to tell them everything that happened and where I'm at," said Clayton to the camera. "The scary part is that I don't even know at this point. I'm just trying to prepare for the worst. This could be the night that I failed on my journey to find love." Clayton stood before them and said as they could see that Susie was not there. He said that he just wanted to let them know what happened because they deserve to know. "I'm shattered into pieces at the moment and I'm questioning everything," he said. "Really, the person that's standing in front of you right now is not the person that you were last with. What I'm about to say is not going to be easy to hear, but it is going to be very transparent and I owe it to you all." Clayton then told them that Susie told him that if he told either of them that he was in love, or if he had been intimate with either of them, that she could not continue with this journey. "And that she felt that it was over for us," said Clayton. Clayton said because it became a deal breaker with Susie that he didn't want it to be a deal breaker with them. "This is the hard part to say, but I was in love with her and I was in love with each of you too," said Clayton. "I am in love with both of you and I also was intimate with both of you." Gabby started crying. "I know it's not easy to hear, but I do believe there is a light at the end of the tunnel," said Clayton. "I do see one of you being on the other side with me and I don't know who that is. I really don't. Because I promise you if I know the answer to that I wouldn't string someone else along." Clayton said if they wanted to ask questions that he would be transparent. Both Rachel and Gabby walked away crying. Rachel sat on the stairs and her loud sobbing echoed and could be heard by Clayton, who was still standing at the podium with 2 roses. "As in love with 2 other people," said Rachel, crying to a producer. She laid her head down the stairs and said, "I've never felt pain like this before." Gabby cried to another producer and said he told me he was falling in love with me and he told Rachel that's not fair. Rachel said he's in love with all 3 of us? And he's heartbroken that Susie left. "I feel like I can't breathe." Gabby told a producer, "I don't know what to do. Maybe it's easier just to go." Jessie walked down the stairs and asked Clayton how he was doing as loud crying could be heard. "It kills me to see this," said Clayton. "They couldn't even look me in the eye. I love both these women and they couldn't understand it." Gabby then walked down and passed them as they spoke without saying anything. "This is so hard, brother," said Jessie. "They are hurt right now. I know," said Clayton. "I don't really feel good about this now, about where this is about to go, but I can't go into a relationship with secrets." Jessie asked him what was next. "I just want to continue with both of them," said Clayton, standing at the podium next to the 2 red roses. "Wish you all the best, man," Jessie said. Gabby then came to talk to Clayton. She said this was so much. Clayton said he just wanted to let her know after what happened last night. Gabby asked him to tell her exactly what happened. Clayton said he told Susie he was in love with her and that she told him that if he had been intimate with somebody else and if he had told someone that he was falling in love that she couldn't move forward with him. "Because I was here, I allowed myself to be vulnerable and to explore the other relationships fully," said Clayton. "In hindsight, I wish I went back and said, what does that mean?" Clayton told her that he meant everything that he said to her. "Ultimately, whoever I pick I love the most," said Clayton. "That's what I'm figuring out, is who is the best fit for me. Who do I love the most, and once I make that decision, all the other love, it was real, but it ends there." Gabby said, "It is hard to hear." "Why wouldn't you just say it?" Clayton said, "Because he felt it and he is in love. Which is great if I'm at the end, but what if I'm not?" said Gabby. "How would you feel in my position?" She looked at him and said, "This is Fed," and walked off. Gabby said in a confessional that she didn't think Clayton was being fair and that you don't tell multiple women that you love them, thinking that there would be no consequences. For him, saying the woman I walk out with is the woman I love the most is the wrong effing answer, said Gabby. Love isn't measured. You can't measure it. I don't want to be loved the most. I just want to be loved for who I am. Rachel cried and told the camera that she was really heartbroken. She said she never thought there was a chance that he would be in love with all three of them. It feels like it meant nothing, said Rachel. Like I'm just supposed to have my heart broken over a chance that he might love me a little bit more than the others? Rachel went to talk to Clayton. She told him that she was in a lot of pain and she was scared that she was going to put up a wall. She kept crying. Rachel, the love that I feel for you is not the love that I feel for Gabby, said Clayton. It's different. That's all I can say. Rachel said she felt like she was struggling because she waited so long to hear from him that he loved her and then he said he loved 2 other women. I'm just so in love with you, said Rachel, crying. I feel like my heart is breaking. This isn't over, said Clayton. For me, it feels like this is worth fighting for and I love you. I do. I know that's what we have and Terry's no question about it. Rachel said she was really scared. The medical sales representative said he just wanted them to take it day by day and that his family was there and he wanted her to meet them. Rachel stopped crying and said she would. The 2 of them hugged and she walked off. Clayton returned to the rose ceremony podium and both Rachel and Gabby walked up the stairs to participate. Clayton apologized to them first for putting them through it. He said they can choose not to accept the rose. Clayton offered Rachel a rose and said, I want you to know that everything that I've said I do stand behind. Rachel accepted the rose and hugged him. Clayton then gave Gabby a rose and said in a whispered voice that I just like to be intentional. Everything that I've said, I mean it and I stand by it. Gabby, will you accept this rose? I can't. I'm sorry, Gabby said. Okay, said Clayton, nodding. Gabby then asked him if he wanted to walk her out and he said okay and put the rose back down on the podium. Rachel was shocked at what just happened and stood there with her rose. I came here tonight thinking it could be you and I and that we do have something very special and very unique, said Gabby. My trust in you and us is what carried me forward. And despite what happened last night and just kind of our conversation, and who you love the most is who you're going to end up with at the end. Gabby continued, but I'm not in the business of competing with anyone for love. It's not meant to be competing and I'm sorry if that's the way that it felt, said Clayton. For me, what I have with you is different from what I have with Rachel. And before yesterday there was Susie as well, and what I had with her was different. Clayton said that he still sees something in us and I wish I could tell you the perfect thing. I don't know what it is as much as I know that I'm speaking from my heart. Clayton tried to explain to her that he fell in love in different ways with each of the women. I don't want to be the most loved, said Gabby. I just want to be accepted and loved. Because love, you can't measure it. Gabby asked him if he ever thought how it would feel to be if he were her. She told him it hurts. He tried to convince her to stay. Is your heart telling you to walk out the door or do you want to give it another chance, said Clayton. Gabby cried and said she didn't know. I can't do it again, said Gabby. I can't tell you what is going to happen tomorrow, but I can tell you what's right now is so very real, and one day at a time, one step at a time, one conversation at a time. I don't have a crystal ball, but I know one thing: what we have is genuine and real, the medial sales rep said. Clayton said to base the decision on what was in her heart. Rachel was sitting on the floor crying. She said that two people that he's in love with just left and now she was the only one. Do I stay? Wondered Rachel. How do we move past this? Rachel said this feels awful, and then he walked back up the stairs with Gabby. Gabby told her, I'm sorry to make you wait. Clayton then picked up the rose again and asked Gabby if she would accept the rose, and she did. Clayton apologized again and said he was looking forward to them meeting his family. I'm so sorry, said Clayton. I'm so sorry. Gabby said in a confessional, I really love him, but I could kick myself next week. Jessie then held a town hall to discuss what happened on the show and was joined on stage by Bachelor franchise alums Michelle Young, 28, Nick Viall, 41, and Claire Crawley, 40. Jessie asked Claire for her thoughts on how Clayton handled the rose ceremony, and she said not well and that it was tough to watch. I think it's cringy, said Claire. Jessie asked Nick what he thought about Clayton's brutally honest strategy. Nick said that Clayton left out the part that he told Susie that he loved her the most. I feel that was something that the women would want to hear, especially Gabby, when he was trying to convince her not to trust her gut, said Nick. Nick said Clayton never took the time to empathize with the women, and unfortunately I think you are seeing a guy who is focused on finding love for himself and not finding love with someone else. He continued to pontificate that everyone knows Clayton loves Susie the most except for Gabby and Rachel, and wondered what they would think watching this back. Jesse asked Michelle for her opinion and she said intimate relationships have to be handled with care. Jesse asked Claire if she thought Clayton found love on the show and she said she hoped that he did. Back in Iceland, Clayton went to meet his family at their Airbnb. He told them that he was really scared and was in a really bad spot. He said he planned going into this to only fall in love with one woman but that he fell in love with three. He said they would meet Gabby and Rachel but the third woman Susie left after she told him she couldn't be with him if he had been intimate with another woman or had told them he was falling in love with them. "Makes sense," said Brian, Clayton's father. Clayton told them he loved all three of the women. Clayton's mom Kelly said she didn't understand how he could be in love with three people. "I think you have got to step back and say that they have a right to be upset with you," Brian said. Clayton told them about the difficult rose ceremony. "You screwed the pooch in my opinion but it's going to be interesting today," said Brian. "This is not at all what I was expecting," said Kelly. "It's going to be hard for me to talk to Gabby because she is the consolation prize. I don't know if the love of your life is gone or I don't know." Clayton told his mother not to look at Gabby like a consolation prize. Gabby showed up with flowers and gifts for Clayton's mother Kelly when she arrived to meet his family. She told them that she was so grateful to meet them and was so nervous walking in. Kelly got emotional meeting Gabby that she might be the one to marry her son. Kelly pulled Gabby aside and asked her why she decided to stay. She said she didn't think she could give up a man like him without seeing it through. "I know he would be such a good partner," said Gabby. "I have just never met anyone as genuine and open-hearted as him." Brian spoke to Gabby next and he told her that respected her for almost walking away. "It's a shame what transpired but maybe it will all work out at some point," said Brian. "It can make you stronger for that matter." Brian said in a confessional that they were excited to have another member of their family but in the end I would like to see my son have his own clarity. Gabby told Clayton that she thought she made such a good decision in staying. "I'm so glad that I listened," said Gabby to Clayton. "I really do love you." Gabby said in a confessional that she believed she made the right decision to stay. Next, Rachel went with flowers and gifts to meet Clayton's family. Clayton said he was so thankful that she stuck it out with him. Rachel told them she was so excited to meet them. Kelly pulled aside Rachel to talk. Rachel told her it was heartbreaking to learn that he could be in love with three people. Kelly said in a confessional that Rachel surprised her with her confidence in her relationship with Clayton. Rachel told Brian that she trusted Clayton. "I would have smacked him," said Brian. Rachel told him that she was really hopeful and she was really so in love with his son. Clayton asked his father Brian what he thought about both women. Brian said he was going to hurt someone and had to accept that. "I love both Gabby and Rachel but when Susie left my whole life just got flipped upside down," said Clayton in a confessional. "How am I supposed to just let that go?" Clayton said through them meeting his family that it didn't stop him from thinking about Susie. Clayton walked in and told his family that he felt conflicted. He told them through his family clarity that his heart was also beyond the walls with Susie. "It was just a little bit more special with Susie," said Clayton. Kelly noted that Susie left him. "Mom, it's not that straightforward," said Clayton. "I understand where she was coming from. I understand why she couldn't see past it, but I feel that I stopped listening with Susie. She was still talking, and I was the one that decided that I was done." "You are grasping at straws in my mind," said Brian. "How do you know?" said Clayton. "She made that choice to walk," said Brian. "She never stopped listening," said Clayton. "She talked all the way until I opened the door for her and told her to go." Brian said he thought he was too caught up in the one who got away. Clayton told them that Susie had everything. "This is a once-in-a-lifetime kind of woman," Clayton said. "I know my heart is telling me to go do this." Clayton's brother Nate said if it feels right to him with Susie, then to follow that. Jesse walked into the house and told them that Clayton had been through a lot. Jesse asked him what he wanted to do. Clayton said he wanted to follow his heart and at least wanted to talk to Susie again. "I feel that what we had was one of a kind and am willing to see if Terry's still something there," said Clayton. Jesse told Clayton that Susie was still in Iceland. "I just want one more shot, that's all I can ask for, at least I will have an answer," said Clayton. The Bachelor will return on Tuesday for the second part of the finale on ABC.